When my sons David and Michael tried to convince me at a family meeting by saying, "Mom, you're confused now, you keep forgetting things, you'll be safe in a nursing home," I knew it was time to reveal the truth I'd been hiding for 40 years. While they were trying to label me as a dementia patient and share my inheritance, I was about to show them who the real heir was. Comment where you're watching from and stay until the end, because this isn't just an elderly mother's story. It's the moment a 40-year secret explodes. My name is Elizabeth Carter. I'm 78 years old and live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a widow. My husband Robert died 8 years ago. I have two sons, David, 52 years old, and Michael, 49 years old. Both are successful, married, and have their own families. And both have been trying to label me as a dementia patient for the past 6 months. Why? Because I have a $3.8 million inheritance. House, investments, savings, life insurance, and they're eager to inherit this money. But there's something they don't know. 40 years ago, I gave birth to a third son, James, and he will be the real owner of my inheritance. It all started 6 months ago. David began making subtle comments during his visits. "Mom, you told the same story 3 times today." "Mom, what do you forget when grocery shopping?" "You should make a list." "Mom, do you forget to pay bills on time?" All lies. My memory is perfect. Bills are on automatic payment, and I don't repeat my stories. Michael was using similar tactics. "Mom, have you considered seeing Dr. Peterson for a routine checkup?" "Mom, I'm worried about your driving." "How are your reflection times?" "Mom, sometimes you seem confused in conversations." This was also a lie. My driving is perfectly fine. I'm sharp in conversations. They were working in coordination. The plan was obvious. They would show me as mentally incompetent, get legal guardianship, and control my assets. But they had no idea about my biggest secret. In 1983, when I was 38 years old, married to Robert for 13 years, David was 12, Michael was 9, I experienced an unexpected pregnancy. It was a very difficult time. Robert's business was struggling. Financial stress was enormous. Two teenage boys were already a handful. We couldn't afford another child. We considered abortion, but at that time, there were restrictions in Arizona. And personally, I couldn't do it. We made a decision. We would give the baby up for adoption. We hid the pregnancy. We told the boys Mom was visiting relatives in California for a few months. Actually, I stayed at a maternity home in Phoenix. James was born on March 15th, 1983. Beautiful baby, healthy, perfect. But our circumstances made it impossible. We placed him through an adoption agency with a wonderful family, Thomas and Sarah Williams. Upper middle class, stable, loving. He took the name James Williams. Robert and I told nobody. David and Michael never knew they had a baby brother. Official story. Mom had an extended illness, recovered in California. For 40 years, the secret remained buried. But 15 years ago, James found me. Adult adoption records had been unsealed in Arizona. James hired a private investigator to trace his biological parents. It was an emotional reunion. James had become a successful man, software engineer, married, 2 children. He was understanding and forgiving about the circumstances. We maintained regular contact secretly, monthly phone calls, occasional discreet meetings. David and Michael never suspected. James was a good man, never asked for money, never demanded recognition. He just wanted a relationship with his birth mother, and I was secretly very proud. David and Michael constantly had financial problems, always asking for loans, making poor decisions. But James was financially stable, responsible, kind. So I updated my will 3 years ago, 60% to James, 20% to David, 20% to Michael. Plus specific instructions that James's existence be revealed only after my death. But their behavior over the past 6 months forced me to change my plan. Last week, the final confrontation came. David and Michael organized a family meeting. At David's house, their wives were also there, Jennifer and Susan. "Mom, we need to talk about your living situation." "My living situation is fine." "Mom," said Michael, "we're concerned. You're showing signs of memory loss." "What signs?" "Repeating stories, forgetting conversations, confusion about dates." "I don't repeat stories or forget conversations." "Mom," Jennifer interrupted, "last week you told me about your neighbor's cat 3 times in one visit. A lie, never happened." "Mom," said Susan, "you called me Tuesday asking about Thanksgiving plans." "We discussed them Monday." Another lie. I hadn't called Susan about Thanksgiving. "Mom," said David seriously, "we think you need a professional evaluation." "Professional evaluation for what?" "Cognitive assessment, to rule out early dementia or Alzheimer's." Alzheimer's. There it was. "I don't have Alzheimer's or dementia." "Mom," said Michael gently, "denial is common with cognitive decline." "I'm not in denial because there's nothing to deny." "Mom," said David, "we've researched assisted living facilities. Sunny Meadows has an excellent reputation. Assisted living. The plan revealed. I'm not going to assisted living." "Mom, it's not a negotiation. It's a safety issue." "Safety issue? I'm perfectly safe in my home." "Mom," said Jennifer, "what if you forget to turn off the stove? What if you get confused and wander?" "I never forgot the stove, never wandered." More fabricated concerns. "Mom," said Susan, "we found applications for credit cards you don't remember applying for." A complete lie. Never applied for credit cards. "Mom," said Michael, "your financial management concerns us. Unpaid bills, missed appointments." Another lie. Bills are automated, appointments are organized. "You're all lying," I said calmly. Shocked faces around the room. "Mom," said David, "this paranoid thinking proves our point." "It's not paranoid if it's true. You're coordinating lies to make me seem incompetent." "Mom," said Michael, "why would we do that?" "For my money." Silence. "Mom," said David carefully, "your inheritance isn't our motivation. We're worried about your well-being. David, you borrowed $30,000 from me last year for a business investment. Michael, you asked for $15,000 for home repairs. You're both financially motivated. True statements. They both looked uncomfortable." "Mom," said Michael, "those were loans. We paid back. You paid back nothing. I have records." "Mom," said David, "we'll discuss finances later. Right now, the focus is your health. My health is fine. My memory is fine. My judgment is fine." "Mom," said Jennifer, "we scheduled an appointment with geriatric specialist Dr. Martinez. Wednesday, 2 p.m., scheduled without consulting me." "I'm not going." "Mom," said David, "you're going." "We'll drive you." "You can't force me." "Actually," said Susan, "if you're deemed incompetent, we can obtain guardianship." There it was. The legal threat. Guardianship? "Mom," said Michael, "if Dr. Martinez confirms cognitive decline, the court can appoint us as legal guardians. Then we make decisions for your safety." Their plan was fully revealed. force evaluation, claim incompetency, obtain guardianship, control assets. I see, I said quietly. Mom, said David, don't fight this. Accept help. Help or control? Help, Mom. We love you. Love. While planning to steal my autonomy. That night, I made a decision. Time to reveal the truth. I called James. James, it's Elizabeth. I need to see you urgently. What's wrong? I explained the situation. James was horrified. They're trying to have you declared incompetent. That's elder abuse. James, I need to tell them about you, about the will, about everything. Are you sure? Once that secret's out. I'm sure. They forced my hand. James drove down from Flagstaff, where he lived. We met at a cafe Tuesday morning. James, tomorrow they're taking me to a geriatric specialist, trying to prove dementia. That's terrible. What can I do? Be there. At the appointment. Meet your brothers. James was nervous, but agreed. Wednesday arrived. David and Michael picked me up and drove to Dr. Martinez's office. Mom, just answer questions honestly. Don't try to prove anything. I'll answer truthfully. Dr. Martinez was professional and kind. He conducted standard cognitive tests. Memory recall, simple math, pattern recognition, logical reasoning. I performed perfectly. Every question correct, every test passed. Dr. Martinez was puzzled. Mrs. Carter, your cognitive function appears completely normal. David looked disappointed. Doctor, what about behavioral changes? Confusion, repetition? I don't see evidence of confusion or memory impairment. Michael pressed. Doctor, could early-stage dementia be undetectable in a clinical setting? Possible, but unlikely given these results. Mrs. Carter shows no cognitive decline. David was frustrated. Doctor, family members observe daily behaviors you don't see in the office. That's true. But the clinical assessment indicates no impairment. Doctor, I said, may I make a statement? Of course. My sons are lying about my symptoms because they want control of my financial assets. A sharp intake of breath from David and Michael. Furthermore, I continued, I have important information they don't know. Mom, warned David, don't. I have a third son they've never met. Silence. Dr. Martinez looked confused. Third son, James Williams, born 1983, given up for adoption. He's been in contact with me for 15 years. David and Michael were staring at me in shock. And, I continued, James is the primary beneficiary in my will, not David and Michael. Mom, whispered Michael, what are you saying? I'm saying you have a brother you never knew about, and he inherits 60% of my estate. Dr. Martinez diplomatically excused himself. I'll give the family privacy for this discussion. David exploded. Mom, this is exactly the delusional thinking we're talking about. It's not delusional. James is waiting in the parking lot. Would you like to meet him? Mom, said Michael, you can't have a secret son. We would know. You were 9 years old, Michael. David was 12. You thought I was visiting California. Mom, this fantasy. David, call James. Ask him to come in. I gave them James's number. David reluctantly dialed. James Williams? This is David Carter. Are you in the parking lot? The conversation was brief. David hung up, his face pale. He's coming in. A few minutes later, there was a knock on the office door. James entered. Tall, about 6 feet 2 inches. Dark hair, slightly gray at the temples. Kind eyes. Professional appearance. His software engineer bearing was evident. Hello, he said quietly. I'm James Williams, your brother." David and Michael stared at him speechless. James resembled Robert strongly. Same jawline, same build, same mannerisms. Undeniably family. "This is impossible," whispered Michael. "James," I said, "meet David and Michael." An awkward moment. Then James extended his hand. "I know this is a shock. I've wanted to meet you both for years." David mechanically shook James's hand. You're really our brother?" "Half-brother, technically. Same mother, same father." "Why didn't we know?" asked Michael. I explained the circumstances. Financial stress, teenage boys, impossible timing. We made a difficult decision. Thomas and Sarah Williams gave James a wonderful life. James nodded. My adoptive parents were incredible. No resentment about the circumstances. "But," said David slowly, "why are you the primary beneficiary?" "We're her sons, too." "Because," I said, "James never tried to manipulate me, lie about me, or steal my autonomy. Harsh, but true. James never borrowed money without repaying, never fabricated concerns about my health, never threatened guardianship to control my assets." David and Michael looked ashamed. James maintained a relationship with me out of love, not greed. "Mom," said Michael quietly, "we're sorry. We were scared about losing you. You weren't scared about losing me. You were scared about losing my money." James felt uncomfortable with the confrontation. "Maybe I should leave." "No, James, stay. They need to understand the consequences." I turned to David and Michael. "My will allocates 60% to James, 20% each to you. But after this guardianship attempt, I'm reconsidering." "Reconsidering how?" asked David nervously. "Maybe 80% to James, 10% each to you." "Mom, please." "Or maybe 100% to James. You've shown your true priorities." "Mom," pleaded Michael, "we made a mistake. We love you." "Love? You tried to have me declared incompetent to steal my independence." James spoke up. "Elizabeth, maybe we could discuss this privately later. Let emotions settle." A wise suggestion. "Dr. Martinez," I called. The doctor returned. "Doctor, am I mentally competent to make financial decisions?" "Absolutely. Your cognitive function is excellent." "Thank you. Please document that in my file." "Of course." We left the office in awkward silence. In the parking lot, David and Michael stood uncomfortably near their car. "Mom," said David, "can we talk? All of us? About what?" "About family, about mistakes, about moving forward." I considered. James nodded encouragingly. "James, would you join us for dinner tonight?" "I'd like that." "David, Michael, you're invited too. But no more lies, no more manipulation, truth only." They agreed. That evening, my house was filled with 3 sons for the first time ever. It was an emotional dinner. David and Michael apologized repeatedly. They acknowledged their financial motivations. They promised no more guardianship threats. James was gracious and understanding. No hostility toward the brothers who never knew he existed. "I don't need the inheritance," James said. "I just wanted a relationship with my birth mother." "James," I said, "you've earned it through 15 years of unconditional love." "But we're family too," said Michael. "We made mistakes, but we love you." "Love and greed aren't compatible," I replied. "Mom," said David, "what can we do to rebuild trust?" "Start with honesty. Stop fabricating symptoms. Respect my independence." "We promise and understand attempts to manipulate me will result in complete disinheritance." They nodded seriously. James remains the primary beneficiary. That won't change. James was uncomfortable with the money discussion, but remained quiet. However, I continued. If you rebuild trust, your 20% shares remain yours. Relief on David and Michael's faces. But one more guardianship threat, one more lie about my competency, and you inherit nothing. Understood, they said in unison. Today, 6 months later, the relationship has dramatically improved. David and Michael treat me with respect. No more memory loss comments. No more manipulation attempts. They've even repaid the borrowed money. James visits monthly. It's a wonderful relationship. The grandchildren adore him. David and Michael's kids love their new uncle. The will remains unchanged. 60% James, 20% each to David and Michael. But trust is rebuilt slowly. David and Michael learned an expensive lesson about greed versus love. When my sons, David and Michael, tried to convince me at a family meeting by saying, "Mom, you're confused now, you keep forgetting things, you'll be safe in a nursing home," I knew it was time to reveal the truth I'd been hiding for 40 years. While they were trying to label me as a dementia patient and share my inheritance, I showed them who the real heir was. Sometimes family comes from unexpected places. Sometimes love is tested by greed. And sometimes the child you give away becomes the most loyal of all. James taught David and Michael a valuable lesson. Inheritance isn't about money. It's about earning it through unconditional love.